Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another exciting Propagandacast with me, your host, Imperial Dane, and today I have for you a 1 versus 1 on Angoville. Yes, indeed, another Angovillian match. And of course, for those that don't quite have an idea of what is Angoville all about, well, Angoville is about sort of that road going right through the center of the map, as you might have noticed. Rather nice crossroads right here, nice point for mining, ambushes, all other sorts of nasty stuff. But it's also a sort of map where one side is incredibly open in sort of terrain. Of course, it leaves for some players, in particular Wehrmacht players, to sort of go for lots of barbed wire, machine guns, because it's rather harder to sort of find things that can make, like bocage or buildings, can sort of block your line of fire and allow the opponent to creep up on you. And that's rather sort of the advantage that open terrain gives you. But of course, while buildings might sort of present you with a nice spot for a machine gun or some barbed wire points, at the same time they also present a hazard, and they basically block your line of fire in some cases and allow the enemy to get close to you. So that of course is something very important to note. Of course, most of the victory points are also right here in the east, so of course that also does tend to cause a bit of problems in that sense, and a lot of Wehrmacht players will tend to in fact go strongly for the west and then sort of creep over into the east. So that of course is vital to note, but let's go have a look at our opponents, shall we? In the northern corner it's Versat, who I believe is a rather high-ranking Wehrmacht player, but I believe he is rank 13 or 14 with the Americans, but nonetheless here he is, 1st Infantry Division, and who shall he be going up against? It shall be a good old friend you on the Road2nowehr, 17th SS Panzergrenadier, in this case Götz von Berlichingen, and let us get right down to it. Let us see what shall be going on here. Aha. Bunkers are up as usual, machine gun emplacements, Wehrmacht quarters on the way, I suspect. Yes, there we go, right at the edge of the base, and a barracks even further at the edge of the American base, of course nicely covered by the machine gun. Interesting thing to note is that the southern base tends to be a lot better protected in terms of, well, obstruction and such compared to the southern base, where there's in fact this rather big gap, in which is in particular unfortunate for the Wehrmacht, since their bunkers and base defenses don't really cover as much as allied base defenses. So for example right here there's a nasty spot where they can creep in, and of course another nasty trick some players go for is breaking through in here, set up a flamethrower, scorch this piece of terrain, and then sort of attack the base, which rather means that you have the Wehrmacht commander in the southern half of the map. You actually have a lot of things to keep in mind, because also this point can easily be harassed right away. So again, a lot of players go for the west, since that actually presents the least amount of hazard in many senses. I mean, again, if you go heavily for the east and sort of things don't go well here, they can actually creep right through there. So again, it looks like the Americans are also going heavily for the west. My goodness, we'll probably have some heavy engagements right there, although at the same time the way the American is going rather heavily, he's probably trying to set up a sort of belt of terrain denial. He's probably not expecting to actually hold it, but at the same time he's probably expecting his opponents to then have to take some time and actually having to retake that territory. Rather sneaky. Then again, he is advancing up with some riflemen to take this point, so at least he might be hoping to gain a bit, but still he's probably not expecting it to hold it for long, but still better to deny it to your own enemy. But very interesting, certainly not what you see right away there. Engineers and Pioneers will probably be facing off very soon. There we go, Engineers charging forwards, opening up on the Pioneers, and you're on the Road2nowehr has gone for an awfully static start. He's going for the MG42, and then with a Schwimmwagen, but no infantry as of yet. MG42 setting up, riflemen advancing from the north, catching the MG42 out in the open. You're on the Road2nowehr. What on earth are you doing? Pioneers fighting off against the Engineers. Looks like the Pioneers are winning. Riflemen charging right into the MG42. MG42 lets its bullets fly right through them. And there we go. Schwimmwagen moving in for the hunt. Or not. And of course, currently the most of the terrain is in fact in the hands of Versat, who's really being aggressive. And yes, there we go, because again, it's rather hard to defend yourself here, particularly because then there's also a building there. So if your opponent pops in there, takes it, he will usually also pop in there. And again, note broadside, meaning of course he can get a lot of fire down right here. It makes this point hellishly difficult to actually hold in some senses. Of course, if you unless you barbed wire here, and still you're going to have to put up a lot, because your opponent is going to want to really cut it. So quite aggressive right there, and very aggressive maneuvering from Versat, now opening up on the Engineers here in the east, forcing the Pioneers away. And of course now currently you're on the Road2nowehr is forced to take back this territory to actually gain it, and going for another MG42. Oh dear, I'm not entirely sure I'm comfortable with this. He's really going for the sort of slow, very, again, static, not awfully fast moving start, and really he's going up against a chap who's really being aggressive, moving about, really getting the most out of American movement, and we can really see he's already having most of the map and most of the resources, and of course looks like You're on the Road to Nowhere sort of went for the same sort of denial with the fuel right there. But riflemen do take points faster than Pioneers, so even then it's not going to be quite the same. False Grenadiers are on the way though. Pioneers heading towards the west, might be setting up something there, so again, so they don't flank in through there as well. There we go, barbed wire, MG42. Will it be trying to come? No, it's just standing about for now. Might want to actually cover this spot. And False Grenadiers also on the field. Pioneers coming under fire, but it looks like they will be able to finish the barbed wire and protect the flank. At least very slightly. MG42 still not deployed. Riflemen heading northwards, could be running straight into these dashing False Grenadier. Or SS Panzergrenadier, who are immediately setting out with some barbed wire to deny the Americans this piece of cover. Good show. Schwimmwagen sort of not doing a bit of reconnaissance, though. That could be nice. I mean, I might as well get in a bit of the difference between the bike and the Schwimmwagen. The Schwimmwagen, while being slightly more expensive than the bike, is also a bit more durable, plus it's actually more maneuverable. So that's of some slight advantage there. Opening up on the rifleman, Schwimmwagen firing away. Rifleman not really taking much. Very cautious from you on the road to nowhere. MG42 advancing so far. What shall he be going for? A second MG42. He's going heavily tier 2 so far, actually. In fact, 3 MG42s. That's already... well, I'm already getting a bit nervous on You're on the Road to Nowhere's behalf. He's really going for the sort of static, this sort of basically allowing his opponent where to attack and move. Schwimmwagen charging forwards, but no infantry supported. Still no MG42 advancing up either. There we go, Schwimmwagen coming under fire. Riflemen sort of hoping to sneak about there, it looks like, and they can, because again, nothing really defending there. MG42 ready. MG42 setting up, perhaps hoping to catch the rifleman, and rifleman heading power there. MG42 setting up, will it be catching those? There we go, riflemen down, and they are in negative cover. Some of them at least taking quite a bit of damage. Riflemen getting suppressed. Riflemen forced to run the gauntlet. False Grenadiers opening up. Schwimmwagen could also be joining in. Really doing the most. There we go. Riflemen pinned down. Further riflemen advancing. Pioneers taking what they can, but really currently the American does hold most of the advantage. And we are seeing a supply up. Good show from Versat, already really having taken the most out of his rather aggressive start. Rifleman charging ahead at the MG42, will be seeing grenades. This could be it. No, he's just firing away at the MG42 up close. Certainly also a viable tactic. There we go, opening up. Schwimmwagen charging in. Rifleman getting gunned down, suppressed. Heavy losses, my goodness. This could be the end. Will the Schwimmwagen win for the kill? No, the rifleman gets away. Oh dear, he could actually have gotten perhaps a kill on a rifleman team. That would have been absolutely great. MG42 still standing about. Still no skirmish. Oh, wait, there we go. Skirmish phase is up. He's really going to need it because, again, no BARs from your American opponent usually means he's going for M8. And again, if you're not seeing grenades or any sort of upgrade, again, M8. Basically, if you're not seeing anything else but riflemen and engineers for some while, M8. Basically, I mean, that's it, really. Great rule of thumb. Lots of barbed wire right here, sort of trying to create a defensive zone here. Not a bad idea, but at the same time he probably ought to be more aggressive, because again he's giving his opponent more of the initiative. And let's just briefly have a look at the map. What do I mean? Well, currently he's holding most of the map, but he's also holding a rather wide frontage. What does this mean? Well, of course, while You're on the Road to Nowhere does have a lot of MGs, at the same time he can't cover every point, and that's rather the problem. He's trying to hold a lot of points, entrances, but he can't really. And again, he's sort of holding the one victory point with 3 MG42, some False Grenadiers, and a Schwimmwagen. And he attacks from not enough points, Mr. Versat, that is. He's basically going to break through somewhere, and then he's going to slowly pick away the strong points. That is the MG42s of You're on the Road to Nowhere's defense, and that's rather the problem with such an idea, at least in my opinion. Engineers heading towards the east. Riflemen sort of hanging about. Some have set up right there. No, it's some engineers, actually. No mines, though, from Versat. Actually, that's a bit peculiar. You mostly see your American opponents to go for mines here, in particular to make it hard for Wehrmacht, because he's probably going to at some stage move in here, because, again, it's the closest point to him. Pioneers coming under fire. They're trying to lay down barbed wire. And, again, be careful. And get out of there, Pioneers. Get out of there. No. False Grenadiers doing nothing to actually cover their comrades, and the Pioneers were lost. Absolutely atrocious there by You're on the Road to Nowhere. MG42 not moving about. engineers finally laying down some mines, but coming under fire from the Volksgrenadiers out in the road. No, the Volksgrenadiers laying down barbed wire, trying to focus down. Rifleman moving through here, bunker up with an MG42 in it and a medic bunker, but again he doesn't really have the infantry to actually allow for the medic bunker to really serve much use in the short term or even the long term. Engineers getting slaughtered right there. Apparently he's just keeping the MG42 there for some odd reason. Rifleman breaking through there, of course, due to the... Again, there's a gap right there, but there's nothing to cover this gap. Not entirely good there. Schwimmagen firing away. Rifleman have breached the lines, and as you might have noticed, again, he can't really react to this. Although he's certainly trying, it is going to be a bit harder, and at the same time now this area is pretty much wide open. Apparently he's also going for an observation post with lots of fuel, so Versat, you're on the road to nowhere, certainly has something in mind, but question is, will he actually be able to do so? And Rifleman going through here, going for some of the cutoff point. MG42 setting up. Volksgrenadiers having equipped with MP40s, charging ahead at the Rifleman, hoping to hunt them down. Schwimmagen not moving in support. Rifleman getting suppressed. Rifleman getting gunned down. And strategic point cut off with us, cutting off this entire area. Again, very, very nasty harassment by Versat. Really aggressive, really one dastardly bastard. And of course now he has to take this point back if he actually orders his troops around about it. Yes, indeed. Rifleman getting ready there to flank the MG42. My goodness, again, Versat has basically painted himself up in a corner. And there we go, M8 charging forwards. And there's absolutely currently nothing to stop it. There's an M8 Pack 38 on the way, but it's not going to stop an M8 right away because again it still needs to get there. MG42 retreating. Schwimmagen MG42's right here. MG42 getting blown out of the bunker. Rifleman sneaking through here, making it harder for the Wehrmacht, of course, to support the other troops here. Things not looking good. Volksgrenadiers advancing. Panzerfaust in hand. They open up, heading the M8. The Greyhound is slightly wounded, but not enough. And there we go. Pack 38 is ready to get pushed forward to be used against those armored Greyhounds, while some pioneers are sort of acting as a target. And there we go, M8 just crushing through the barbed wire, thus leaving another spot open in You're on the road to nowhere's defenses. In fact, let's go and look at Versat now. What is he doing? He's going for a weapon support center, now going for a mortar. Rather sneaky, rather clever. Riflemen, though, are awfully wounded, but that will not be for long. In fact, only 3 rifleman teams. Very incredible what Versat has actually only able to do with such few units. Whereas, well, You're on the road to nowhere has a lot more, but he's not really getting the same amount of traction out of it. Mines being laid down there, not a bad idea, but at the same time, much more munitions for Versat, since again he's holding most of the munitions points. Volksgrenadier is charging at the rifleman, forcing the rifleman to retreat. 1st Infantry Division looking alright in the face of the 17th, who looks like to have sent not in their best troops for this fight.
The Huns are taking our
territory. Not the most aggressive ones. Mortar is ready, rifleman ready, and of course the mortar will make it a lot harder for You're on the road to nowhere to get anything out of his MGs. Another pack up. M8 charging in through the base. Will the Pack 38 be able to get it? Or will the Pack M8 again be able to flank it, do again to the buildings, pretty much presenting lines of no fire. 2nd pack moving in. Unable to get a shot either. Oh dear, You're on the road to nowhere. You're not really having much luck. And will the M8 be doing something sneaky here? Yes, indeed, he's laying down a mine, basically meaning that if you try to take this anti-tank gun, you're going to get blown up. And the M8 continues. Pack 38 advances, trying to get that M8. This is some rather nasty raid here on the enemy base. Pioneers will be lost. There we go. Not looking good for you on the road to nowhere. Once more his defenses have been penetrated. Engineers hanging about nearby. Kupfer trying to get a flamethrower and scorch through here. And another M8 mine right in front of the Krieg barracks. Oh, the inhumanity. Whatever gets out of there is going to suffer quite nicely. There we go, Grenadiers. Alright, Grenadiers actually get out of the side entrance, not the front entrance, which is all the vehicles. And there we go, trying to recover, but oh dear, heavy losses, heavy losses. 1 man down, the other 3 desperately wounded. Reinforce them, don't, oh no, don't try to take the, oh no. He took the gun. And it's awfully damaged, it needs to be repaired first. And once more cleared out, and a Grenadier team is cleared out. You're on the road to nowhere. Really made a fumble right there. 2nd M8 charging in. Pack 38, and Another M8 mine, and he loses it finally there. But the losses for you on the road to nowhere are much more extreme. A Grenadier team, a Pack-38, and a Pioneer team, or two in fact. Although the second M8 charging in without skirts was slow, so that's certainly going to mitigate things a bit. But really, rather extreme losses for you on the road to nowhere. Again, sort of rather the result of his rather static defensive on the west part of the map without really thinking about the rest of the entire map. And now we are seeing mortars beginning to open up on the Wehrmacht lines. The medic bunker, of course, being a rather nice target for this. Volkswagen is trying to counter-attack. And there's a bit nicer spot, open territory right there, so they could, but of course, the mortar is within range of the MG42, so they can't get... the 30 caliber, so they can't get too close. And there we go, opening up. Finding out the Volkswagen is suppressing them. Wehrmacht has breached. These Pack-38 setting up there might want to scavenge those munitions, and those munitions basically get as much out as possible. Volkswagen is retreating, so the Pioneers' defensive lines are awfully thin for you on the road to nowhere. Basically a few MG42s holding the entire west. Something was hit on mine, it perhaps. What, I'm not entirely sure. I've been getting suppressed, but mortars are opening up on the bunker. And of course, one thing you have to be careful with, in this case, he has an MG gunner in it. No, he got it out, thankfully. But otherwise, if you have a unit in a building and the building is destroyed, the unit inside it will die as well. Another Pack-38 ready. Volkswagen and Pioneers getting ready. Will they scavenge the munitions, please? Mines in front of the creek banks. You perhaps should have done that a lot earlier, because that's how you usually counter that trick with the M8 trying to move in. No, he's ignoring further infantry. Again, he really needs to get on the offensive. He's draining manpower or victory points, but no, instead he's going for the Sturm Armory, perhaps hoping to gain a victory through that. Rifleman running straight into the MG42, firing away from the wreckage of the burnt out pickup truck. Rifleman pushing forwards, taking what they can. The mortar continues to blast away. The medic bunker is no more. And apparently did have the MG42 team in it. Oh dear. What? I'm not entirely sure. It seems a bit unclear, unless of course he went for more MG42s and still somehow managed to lose one. Oh, the confusion. And a second mortar. My goodness, Versat is going rather heavily on the infantry support. Several mortars and now a sniper. My goodness. And again, you're on the road to nowhere. Really seems to be lacking anything that can really deal with this, except one team of Volkswagen with MP40s charging them forwards. For the foul that is activated, which probably means that he has gone defensive, of course. I can just check. Yes, indeed. And of course, it only works in your own territory. As soon as you enter enemy territory, it stops working. Doesn't manage to do much. And already there we see another problem there from you on the road to nowhere. He's basically also sort of preventing himself from actually mounting a solid counterattack because he's gone defensive. I mean, defensive is great if you have to hold a lot of territory, but currently doesn't have a lot. So he's rather shooting himself in the foot there, as he's rather making it a lot harder for him to come back unless, say, Blitzkrieg or Terror, which actually allow him to call him some stronger units for the offense. For example, he could have gotten a Stu-42, which could have blown up those mortars, and in fact, he would have absolutely no problems charging in. Instead, he's sending a Schwimmwagen, going in for the sniper, which rather seems fortunate. Will he get the sniper? That would certainly be a victory for you on the road to nowhere. Will he continue? Yes. The hunt for the sniper continues, and the sniper is lost. Small victory for you on the road to nowhere right there. Sturm Armory blazing up. Really needs to move in those other troops for an immediate counterattack, and he needs to open up another front. He needs to cause Versat to have to focus elsewhere. He needs to send something in there. Instead, he's sort of focusing in the one spot and really giving Versat all the basically decision making and such. And we are seeing a Stuk 4 arriving, hoping to turn the tide a bit, although a Puma would have been perhaps a bit better for some more mobile firepower, but still Stuk might help. But still, he needs to keep it supported then, and he needs to keep moving, and again needs to take points right here, because again currently he's basically just allowing the Americans to choose where to fight and when, which is not really, as you might have noticed, working to the favor of you on the road to nowhere, in particular with all those mortars. Stuk opening up, getting one rifleman, two riflemen in fact right away. Good shot right there from the Sturmgeschütz. Pioneers, Volksgrenadiers, MG42 moving in for the counterattack. Further riflemen simply getting shot to bits by the Stug. Rifleman Volksgrenadier charging. Stug moving into support, opening up continually. Pack 38 opening up in support. Engineers laying down mines. Oh dear, going to make things harder for you on the road to nowhere. Rifleman forced away. Another rifleman team right there. Volksgrenadiers moving in.
Now available.
And we are seeing an airborne doctrine from Versat to give him perhaps some more tactical mobility and of course the ability to call in strafing runs wherever needed. Riflemen taking quite a bit of damage there, getting burned, getting shot, but they make it away. And Schwimmark and Stug advancing, and we are seeing a heavy armored car now on the field. Engineers and mortars retreating. Anti-tank gun on the way, of course, already seeing the armor. He's probably going for something that can stop it. And airborne getting ready, might be dropped in with some recoilless rifles. And what does Versat do? Does he push the advantage? Does he begin taking territory here? No. I mean, he rather would have served better by actually trying to force out Versat's forces a bit, spread them out, force them to come to him into his defensive, which of course would be stronger, but no. You're on the road to nowhere, seems utterly consumed with the western half of the map. And you have to be very careful about getting consumed on one half of the map. You must not ignore mobility and of course other bits, and rather that seems to be what you're on the road to nowhere is doing. Much tragedy, and right in front of the anti-tank gun, get away, armored car. And the armored car misses. Rifleman retreating from the east. And there we go, finally sending in some pioneers, but there's absolutely no march there, so a bit of a disappointment there, but still not a bad idea to send them in with minesweepers just in case. Not bad, it says. And now he's going for a flak 88. Oh dear, we could see what he's now finally gotten in mind. And let's just briefly pause to explain it. What is you're on the road to nowhere doing? Hiccup, damn it. Basically, what he's doing, and that is something some Wehrmacht players go for when they're playing defensive, is basically creep up the left side and then use flak 88 to basically level the entire base very slowly. I mean, it's not a bad idea as such, but at the same time, again, lack of mobility, lack of offensive, and of course, if something goes wrong, you're really in it. And of course, in this case, we have two mortars, which can bombard the flak 88 or just basically lay down smoke, thus rendering it useless. So already there, I can't help but feel that you're on the road to nowhere is sort of following a script. Trouble is with scripts or such strategies which rather rely on very stiff build orders is they rather have some problems when things go wrong, and that's rather what's happening here. And of course it seems like you're on the road to nowhere doesn't know what to do, so he just keeps following the script rather than trying to adapt. And I doubt that will go well for him. Mortars getting ready. Puma sort of on the front line. Volksgrenadiers coming out and fire again. He's desperately lacking infantry again. The absolute minimum ought to be 2. The solid minimum 3. He only has 1 team of Volksgrenadiers. And it's 1 team of infantry. Already there, that ought to be a hint that something is not quite right. Flak 88 though is ready. Opening up. Puma advancing. Right into the anti-tank gun. Oh no. Anti-tank gun though coming under fire, but the pioneers are getting slaughtered. Why did he move them in like that? Now of course he has signal there, so flak 88, and of course the mortars are within range. This is what you'd call very bad. And there we go, mortar barrage begins opening up. Stug advances, hoping to secure something, but it hits a mine. Oh dear, this is turning into an absolute disaster for the 17th SS. The Stug now also out in the middle of everything. Anti-tank gun cleared out. Recoilless rifles going in. Oh my goodness, an absolute slaughter for you're on the road to nowhere. Stug 4 desperately tries to get out of this mess. Its commander has landed it in, but it does not make it. And those were some incredibly heavy losses right away from you on the road to nowhere. Though he is finally securing some territory in the east. Finally, after 20 bloody minutes. MG42 trying to do something about these airborne, but the airborne are just continue running around it. And flanking the MG42, continually going to force it to retreat, but getting suppressed somehow. And now they're exhausted right in front of the MG42. This could actually end up badly. Second MG42 also have it in sights. There we go, pinned down, getting gunned down. Mortars advancing very slowly. And getting some nice kills. Anti-tank. Well, Flag 88 recruit. And once more getting cleared out by mortar fire. MG42 cleared out by mortar fire, and this one might also be cleared out. I mean, this is not good at all. And looks no, there's some grenadier. Finally, some other grenadiers to replace the ones lost. No mines here. He does have a lot of munitions, but he's not going in. And now there's coming a massive American counterattack to retake what was lost, which ought to be expected. No, he's using his grenadiers to recruit. Oh, you're on the road to nowhere. Why are you doing this? And now he's sacrificing the grenadiers just to charge and get him out of there. Get him out of there. Get him away. And now the pioneers in the east will also be lost. MG42 opening up through the west there. Not looking good. And grenadiers are continuing. Get away. Get away. You're on the road to nowhere. What has happened to your otherwise decent unit preservation? It's absolutely...
We have lost a unit.
Why on earth is he doing that? I mean, I know sometimes shit happens, but really this seems to be rather continually, and with some rather long periods where he could actually have gotten things out of there safely. MG42 lost and stolen by the Americans, run away. And looks like this Flak 88 is going to be lost. Having expended so many resources on it continually. Lost entire infantry units to try and recruit it. That's a lot of manpower again. And airborne flanking, getting shot down though. False Grenadiers charging right into the base, getting gunned down by the 30 caliber right there though. And this Flak 88 doesn't have long for this world. Just one mortar round, I think, and it's going to be lost. There we go, 2 mortar rounds, and the Flak 88 is no more. You're on the road to nowhere, has rather suffered some brutal losses. And now he's finally retreating the Volksgrenadiers right there. What is going on here? And MG42 cleared out, losing 2 MG42s again. Oh, the inhumanity. I mean, right now, you're on the road to nowhere. Basically has nothing left. He's going for more Volksgrenadiers. He's finally going for infantry. When it's all too late, a registered artillery barrage does clear out some bits. Puma advances on the MG42. But what shall this result in? And I do believe it's time for the mid-game analysis. What is the current situation? Well, currently things are looking very bad for the 17th SS under the command of You're on the Road to Nowhere, having rather suffered some brutal losses, having rather tried a much too defensive and static strategy, which has rather resulted in him getting constantly outmaneuvered, out-bombarded, and out everything else, and has pretty much suffered heavy losses, losing Grenadiers, Stuk, Puma, and, well, other things really, and again, in some cases, just to absolutely horrendous, stupid unit preservation, which really shouldn't have been happening in the first place. I mean, he used Grenadiers to recruit a Flak 88 in the line of enemy fire, and then sent in the Grenadiers for no apparent reason, the last one, and then he got him killed. I mean, it really seems to be happening a bit too often for my liking. But let us continue in this and see how it goes. Of course, things are looking pretty good for Versat. Not a lot of losses, though some. But still, Versat is really holding the long end of the stick. A mortar round damaging the engine of the heavy armored car. This is what you'd call bad. Volksgren is advancing straight into the riflemen with BARs now. No veterancy for the infantry. I think he actually built the Kampfkraft Center, but he's actually... Wait, he got some few upgrades in veterancy, but I think that might have been for armor. Volksgren is right out in the middle of everything, getting shot to bits by BARs and riflemen and all the other bits, and mortar rounds flying. Need to get away, retreat, don't run them away into further fire. And the Puma trying to knock out the mortars, but are running straight into the airborne with the recoilless rifles. Oh dear, the Volksgrenadiers will be lost. He didn't retreat them. Or perhaps he's going to link them up with the armored car. Now he's retreating veterans. One giving a bit of healing, but will they make it out of there? Apparently so. Very fortunate right there. Riflemen forced to retreat. Further Volksgrenadiers heading onto the field. Grenadiers also at the front. Airborne now advancing. Armored car needs to get away, and Grenadiers need to focus down on those airborne rather than the victory point. Riflemen forced away by the armored car, which continues. Apparently, it's duty towards the fatherland rather than trying to get back for repairs. Grenadiers doing something. Airborne charging forward. Armored car needs to get away before the airborne get within range. And looks like an MG42 under American command opens up on the Grenadiers, suppressing them. Airborne moving in. Oh, False Grenadiers moving in on the airborne, who are also moving in. And I doubt this armored car will make it. Volksgrenadiers moving in close, forcing the airborne to get away lest they get shot to bits by the Volksgrenadiers. Small victory there. So you're on the road to nowhere, although I'd not say it's a very good one. But still, you're on the road to nowhere. Clings on desperately, not willing to give up now. Too many lives have been lost, apparently. He feels now getting much veterancy for his infantry, perhaps hoping another approach, which he probably should have gone for in the first place, or at least sort of mixed in with the other approach he already had. But now he's already lost too much, and I'm not entirely sure he can actually turn this around at this stage. But let's see if he can actually make some small gains. Mortars firing away, now covered by an MG42. Good show right there. Anti-tank gun ready. Volksgrenadiers advancing straight into the line of fire. One team though managing to flank. This could end up very nicely. And a strafing run puts a stop to that. Pinning down and killing. Pack 38 opening up as well. These Volksgrenadiers need to retreat. And there we go, retreating as a wave of riflemen advance steadily but surely. Grenadiers getting reinforced. And you're on the road to nowhere, getting pushed within his own base. Veterancy 2 up. Giving his Grenadiers a bit of elite armor and making his Volksgrenadiers slightly tougher. Mortars firing away, and of course mortars are always nice no matter what side you're on. They can always do some pretty nice damage. And of course damage above other bits. So, looks like you're on the road to nowhere is finally focusing more steadily on these, sending in his infantry and his armored car now. Which he probably ought to again have done earlier. Pack 38 pulling back towards the base. Pioneers doing nothing. They could also be used to advance. Taking points in the east while the Americans are holding most of the west.
Our forward supply lines are broken.
And an observation post up from Versat, but it's going to get knocked out. And a strafing run, pinning down and killing by the points. Very nasty, that. As units who are taking points are easier targets. So we're trying to retake. Volksgrenadiers advancing as well. And an American counterattack will probably be imminent. But looks like you're on the road to nowhere. It's just keen on taking some points, not sending his pioneers to support, not trying to lay down mines or get a flamethrower up or anything. Getting now another Stuk. Registered artillery right there. It seems hoping to catch these riflemen. Will they get out of there in time? No, a rifleman team is lost. Small victory there. Volksgrenadiers only 2 men though. With he needs to get them out of there. Out of that building. Grenadiers trying to do what they can. Puma also now moving about, finally realizing there's other things to deal with. Clamping up inside this building while there are mortars nearby. Oh no. Now getting the Volksgrenadiers inside the building right there as well. Airborne hunting down the armored car with the recoilless rifles. Airborne rather exhausted, and there we go, heavy artillery going in on the building and a bombing. But the building actually saves them by absorbing most of the damage. A small blessing right there, although it could easily have ended up very badly for you're on the road to nowhere's infantry. Still nothing really has been done about those mortars despite good tries. And you're on the road to nowhere. Soldiers are now advancing with another assault gun, sending in what the 17th SS Panzergrenadier Division gets von Berlichingen can muster. The Stuks were sent in as a replacement for those panzers they were actually supposed to have, but due against sort of problems with getting out the proper stuff, they were given Stuks. They were also supposed to have Jagdpanzer Force, which was sort of like Stuks, the early ones, except they had more machine guns. But they couldn't get those, so they got Marder 3s. Armored car advancing. Sticking close to the Stuk. Volksgrenadiers and Grenadiers moving in. Small gains once more from you're on the Road to Nowhere, thus slightly a bit more combat worthy. Riflemen advancing. Airborne advancing. And there we go, some barbed wire there. The Puma will be needed. Something will be needed repairs, I suspect. And Veteran 2 for his armor. Getting some light machine guns on the Stuke, not bad. There we go, Puma advancing. No artillery assets as of yet, though I would recommend perhaps a Nebelwerfer to try and bombard those mortars. Volksgrenadiers trying to take a point while under fire. Oh no. And there we go, Stuke moving in, strafing right on the Volksgrenadiers who need to retreat, pinned down. Grenadiers are pinned down, the Volksgrenadiers are suppressed, and there we go, pulling out recall his rifles against the Stuke. Stuke opening up, firing away what it can, but commanding quite a bit of damage. Volksgrenadiers not moving in to support, and Pioneers not moving in to try and repair the Stuke. Oh dear, and there we go, finally getting a Nebelwerfer. Could have been useful a lot sooner. Volksgrenadiers getting reinforced, so the Grenadiers probably very soon. Why are the Pioneers not trying to repair the Stuke? Instead just standing them out right now in the open. Riflemen getting hit, and an anti-tanker moves in to support. Very good by Versat, keeping things under support. And the Airborne are moving in, perhaps hoping to get the kill on the Stuke. Volksgrenadiers firing away, gunning down quite a few Volksgrenadiers right away. Airborne opening up on the Puma instead, and of course Airborne can reinforce right in the field. Volksgrenadiers charging in. Airborne running away. Stuke advancing, getting closer with its main gun and machine gun. Has to be careful though not to run into the anti-tank gun. More American troops are now flooding into the east. Nebelwerfer finally ready. Grenadiers and Volksgrenadiers still not reinforced. Oh dear. And the Stuke moves in without much repairs. And the MP40 equipped Volksgrenadiers continue the hunt for the anti-tank gun, and looks like he's preparing for an advance into the west. Perhaps I'm just hoping to stop these Riflemen, Grenadiers and Volksgrenadiers. A grenade could do some work there, and a strafing run stopping the Volksgrenadiers at least temporarily. Riflemen getting shot up right there, close up. Could be another lost Rifleman team in fact. Oh dear, he's perhaps getting a bit too... Yes, indeed, looks like Versat is actually getting a bit complacent. This could be the key for you're on the Road to Nowhere to make some small gains. If Versat keeps making these mistakes, of course you're on the Road to Nowhere really needs to sharpen up. And he needs to perhaps use that Nebelwerfer a bit more aggressively, perhaps just bombard. He just bombard something. Now he's sending in Volksgrenadiers with us. Oh, retreat! You're on the Road to Nowhere. Yes, there we go. Quickly, quickly. Securing victory points right there. Oh, 57 points left. Oh no. Looks like some more infantry is on the way. At least I hope it's more infantry. Assault guns still not repaired, but sending in the Pioneers. Grenadiers ready advancing. He needs to just focus on these. Try not to send too much into the west. There's too many support assets. And he needs to use that Nebelwerfer again. A nice trick to always just basically have it ready. It's basically just to establish a control group, which I just prefer as fire. That's usually my artillery group. And then you basically can always just press 5, check if you have artillery ready, and if it is, press B, that's bombard, pretty much always. And then bombard whatever you need bombarded. In the meanwhile, Versat is just pushing the advantage, and is now going for the Sherman. The Stuke can perhaps hold it back, but it needs repairs for that to happen. Will the Nebelwerfer fire? Riflemen moving in, Airborne getting ready to move in from the front. Going for this strategic point, perhaps no setting up in the building. Will the Nebelwerfer fire? Yes, there we go. Grenadiers moving in. Puma taking damage, and the Nebelwerfer howling. Grenadiers moving forwards. Pioneers need to repair, damn it. And there we go. Airborne getting bombarded. Grenade also hitting. Quite some extraordinary losses. And a strafing run moving in somewhere. Stuke advancing. Getting a Rifleman coming under fire from the anti-tank gun. Needs to retreat. Get away out of this piece. No, he's not moving far away enough. And getting hit from the flank. Move back. Move back. Move. And there we go. Sturmgeschütz for number 2 lost. Volksgrenadiers advancing. 6 kills for the Nebelwerfer though. Small victory. But I really fear he's diluting his forces. What little he has left, he's absolutely diluting. Not good. And now his Grenadiers are coming under fire from the mortar. Need to retreat those. Volksgrenadiers moving in from the south. Retreat the Grenadiers before another mortar round clears them out. Oh, barely any health left. Retreat, no.
Enemy unit.
And he lost the Grenadiers. You're on the road to nowhere. You were looking alright, but then you made foolish mistakes again. Volksgrenadiers forced to retreat. And the Sherman advantage is on the Grenadiers. And what shall be the next from you on the road to nowhere? Another Nebelwerfer, and there's a Sherman on the way now. He's cancelled it and going for the Stug instead. That's at least a small gain there. Pack 38 opening up on the Sherman. Armored car still not repaired. Why isn't he repairing his assets? And why is he continuing moving it in front of that anti-tank gun? Nebelwerfer firing. And Sherman moving in, flanking from the rear. Pack needs to decloak, and there we go, moving up against the Sherman, I hope. And the armored car moves forward and knocked out. While the Sherman rifleman getting burnt alive, shot down. In fact, they may not make it out of there. That could have been nice. That would have mean actually only airborne being the infantry, but still. And there we go. The Nebelwerfer has been cleared out. Stug not getting ready anytime soon. Sherman taking numerous rear hits. Volksgrenadiers need to ping up that BAR and then, oh, yes, pick it up and retreat. Others trying to advance on the anti-tank gun. There we go, but now they need to retreat lest the Sherman knock it out. They have very low health. Oh dear, there's mortar rounds flying and everything else. Retreat, you're on the road to nowhere. Why do you never retreat when you need to? Why do you just keep... Oh no. Again, retreat, there we go, finally, and the Pack 38 advancing. Stug 4 advancing. Grenadiers and Volksgrenadiers getting reinforced.
Our forces are taking casualties.
And finally knocking out the Sherman, but airborne advancing. He needs to move forward his infantry towards the east. Not the west, no.
Enemy unit down.
Oh, you're on the road to nowhere. Why do you keep diluting your forces when you shouldn't be? Anti-tank gun cleared out. Stug 4 rather dangerously exposed, and there's no infantry to support it because he's moving it straight into the MG42 again. Why does he expect the MG42 to suddenly vanish when he isn't seeing it on the east? And now the Stug 4 is being left with recoilless rifles at infinitum and gets knocked out because again no infantry support. And Volksgrenadiers continuing to advance. Finally. I mean, now he has 4 infantry. Seems he should have gone for that a lot earlier rather than 3 MG42s of flak, 88 and all that other business. And he should have been more aggressive in the east. Oh well. Another Sherman might be on the way. Then again, Versat might just be feeling pretty confident. Or what is this? No, that's an anti-tank gun. Others covering the west rather succinctly. What little the 17th SS can muster is moving forwards. Nebelwerfer not recruit. Vehicles not scavenged. No pioneers or anything. More veterancy. If he's going for veterancy 3 for his infantry, I'm going to say some very bad words. I think no, I'm not. I do have my civility, but still. This. Oh, he did it. He went for infantry veterancy 3. I mean, I can't help but feel that some players go for it. I mean, yes, it can be useful, but other times you need more units. And this is rather the cause for more units, not veterancy 3. He needs something that can stop the Allied in a more strong fashion. He needs something to recruit that Nebelwerfer. He needs more units. Instead, he goes for veterancy 3. That's 300 manpower. And currently, manpower is what he needs the most. He needs more men. And he's not getting it. He's hiding most of his units inside a building. Oh dear. You're on the road to nowhere. You're making me sad. Very sad. Grenadiers advancing. Nebelwerfer still not recruit. German forces holding the line right here as American infantry advances. Getting inside the building. A grenade could do some nice work here. A grenade not standing about right in front of it. And mortar rounds flying. Retreat. I think this is the case for just retreating.
Losing ground out there.
Oh, I wish he could hear me. And then, of course, a strafing run because, again, I mean, he doesn't seem to get acknowledged as his opponent is going for strafing runs. And he just keeps losing the troops like that. And now he's attacking the base. I can't help but feel that you're on the road to nowhere just seems to have lost all idea of what to do. Whereas Versat just seems to know what to do constantly. He's constantly on the ball, constantly with the initiative more or less, even when he's losing infantry. And now currently, well, you're on the road to nowhere is basically handing me his victory. Grenadiers inside there. A grenade only kills one though, but the building is awfully close to collapsing. A few more anything, and that building will be a tomb for the Grenadiers inside. Despite how courageous and veteran they may be. And the mortars, excellent usage of the mortars, my goodness. And the Grenadiers right out in the middle of everything again. Why isn't he retreating? Trying to clear out that, and of course running into another MG42. I mean, he seems to have forgotten that most of his MG42s are currently in the hands of his enemy. That also tends to be a good reason for not going for a lot of MG42s, because if your enemy catches it, you've just given him a lot of MG42s. And now he's just losing what he has in the east as well. I mean, I have absolutely no idea why he thinks he can actually manage anything here in the west. Instead, he's getting what remains slaughtered in a manner most cruel and heartless. Some Pfalz Grenadiers hold what little is left in the west, while what is in the east, while in the west, and he just lost the Pfalz Grenadier team. Sherman moves in and begins clearing up because again there's currently no anti-tank assets. Pfalz Grenadiers right in the middle of everything against two veterancy 3 riflemen. Oh no! Airborne slaughters the Pfalz Grenadiers, and I definitely say this is the end for you on the road to nowhere. Who's going for more Grenadiers? No, he's going for the Stug again. And Versat is apparently ignoring the victory points. Seems a bit dastardly. Then he could basically just finish it right here and now.
Grenadiers, listen up.
We are ready to push back the Yankees.
Now he recruits the Nebelwerfer rather than... Oh. No. That's just no good.
Forward supply lines are broken.
To put it mildly. Nebelwerfer howling the shattered remains of the 17th SS. 1st Battalion once more advances. And some Grenadiers get killed right away by the Sherman. Nothing to actually stop it right away, but there we go. Stug 4 ready. Sherman is not outgunned, I think, actually. Grenadiers taking up position right now in the building, opening up on the riflemen, hoping to get enough firepower down on it, forcing them away. Stug advancing, hoping to catch that Sherman, perhaps. Will it happen? Yes, there we go. Flanking shot on the Sherman. Rear armor hit. Sherman is up from the front. Even if it penetrates the veterancy, one of the Stug will decrease damage taken by 25%. Always a good upgrade to have. Stug firing away. Sherman also, but the Stug actually gets the hit. Riflemen advancing, looks like some fresh ones. More Shermans advancing. Meaning now that the Stug is outnumbered. Mortar rounds on the Pfalz Grenadiers. Pfalz Grenadiers need to retreat. Retreat, I say. And he doesn't, does he? No. And anti-tank guns now opening up in the Stug, but he moves it into the mess rather than out of it. Not a happy sign. And another Stug getting built while another one is lost. And with a fourth one that makes getting on the way, that will mean that he actually had a Stug platoon on the field, but that will probably be a lost Stug platoon. Nebelwerfer firing again. And he's just rendering that neutral. I can't help but feel that Versat is being a bit of an asshole and is just toying with you're on the road to nowhere. rather than just trying to finish it, which just seems, well, quite frankly cruel and not very nice. And you're on the road to nowhere, proceed to repeat the same mistake again. MG42s and anti-tank gun opening up on the Stook. He needs to get that Stook out of there, and he does so. And he's actually moving infantry into there rather than trying to move into the east. No! Again, making the mistake. Volkswagen is getting suppressed. Hit, anti-tank. No, Sherman moving in to flank the Stook. And a Hellcat. That Stook is not going to be very heavy for very long. Now getting lots of pioneers. And I'd say this is the end. Stu 4 not really happy. And the Hellcat gets the kill.
They're in our base. They're hitting our base.
Nebula firing away. American armor perhaps approaching the base. Grenadier sort of. Nope.
Cowards attack our forward base.
And let us speed things up since this is... Otherwise this might easily end up about an hour, and this is going to take even longer to upload. That's rather one of the reasons why I actually hold away from sort of going for too long games. They actually take a lot of time to upload. In some cases, a 1 hour match can actually take 6 hours to upload in some cases. Which of course means if something goes wrong, it's going to take even longer. But yeah, this is just... yeah, not much here from You're on the Road to Nowhere. Not entirely sure what he's expecting. And yeah, you're gonna kill me or what? Versat is basically just playing around. Bombing run on the base, knocking it out. And there we go. Game over. A victory for the 1st Infantry Division and Versat. Although again, he could actually have asked himself around to actually do it, or You're on the Road to Nowhere could have left, you know, but still. And yeah, the MG42 seems to be finding ways, so let's just get away from that so we don't actually overhear that while I'm talking, at least not much, but... what can we learn from this? Well, I mean, I think the main problem again was rather the one from the beginning, not enough infantry there. He went too heavily static, which was rather what allowed Versat to basically hold the initiative for so long. And basically, You're on the Road to Nowhere kept playing into that. He then got the Flak 88 right within the range of the mortars. He wasn't able to really get the mortars. He didn't get his own counter artillery when he could have. He threw away armor. He didn't repair it properly. When he finally get infantry, it still wasn't enough. It was a bit too late. And then he proceeded to dilute it. He split it up and just sort of sent it everywhere. And kept sending right into MG42s rather than just trying to hold what he could here in the east and fortify that. Then he could perhaps have gotten a Flak 88 to sort of hold that, but he didn't. I mean, there were rather repeated mistakes, and when he finally had perhaps a slim enough chance of winning, he threw it away. So, of course, we saw some very good aggressive movement from Versat. Very good, in fact. Could have used some more mines from either side, though, but otherwise quite enjoyable. And, of course, nice supply yard upgrade. So, there you go. Hope you enjoyed it. If you did, why not subscribe or tell your friends? And if you didn't, well, why not send in a replay of your own? This is Imperial Dane saying, always remember to get some infantry. Cheers!